So here we are. We're at the end. Today is June 13th. It's Friday the 13th. And today we're going to see closing arguments. If you've been watching the trial, you probably agree that Alan Jackson will have an easier time of it today because the facts are on his side. The expert witness testimony has shown the jury very clearly that John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. And that's ground zero. In order to find Karen guilty of any of the charges, it starts with, like, she hit John with the car. And then it turns into, did she do it kind of intentionally? Did she do it by accident and accidentally leave him there? Did she do it because she was so drunk she didn't know what she was doing? But it all starts there. If you do not believe or you have reasonable doubt that John was ever hit by a car, this gets nowhere, right? It just doesn't. And so Alan Jackson has that good fortune on his side. They decided not to do the third-party culprit defense this time, which I think was a very smart move. They just went for Bowden defense. And Bowden defense, as a reminder for those of you who don't remember, is just essentially saying this was an unfair investigation. If you cannot properly defend somebody, you cannot properly keep somebody out of jail if the police didn't properly investigate in the first place. If this person's sort of being railroaded, you can't find them guilty. And that is essentially what they're arguing now. There has been plenty of evidence put forward that this was a botched investigation from the beginning. And I say the word botched because I'm being generous this morning. Like, there are times where it was botched because it was complete incompetence. When you get people like Trooper Paul and Trooper Garino who are asked to do parts of the investigation that they are wildly unqualified for. And so when they fuck things up, you go, oh yeah, should have seen that coming, because they don't know how to do it properly. They aren't fully trained to do what real experts would do. But there's also part of it that was exceptionally deceptive. They intentionally didn't follow other leads. I think Yannetti brought part of that up yesterday when he kept talking about Higgins, and he kept talking about Higgins in the video and how aggressive Higgins was being and that Higgins was jealous. They're gonna plant the seed that it maybe not that Higgins did it, but they're gonna plant the seed that you would have thought at some point or another the police would have just thought that maybe they should follow that lead. They should look at what the video is telling them with their own two eyes. Instead of counting the number of drinks Karen had at the bar, they should have been watching other people's behavior that night. There were other people that had motive. There were other people that had means. There were other people that were there. There was a lot of other people that could have done something to John, and the police never followed up on any of those leads. Through all this expert testimony, we've learned a couple of things, for sure. We know that the injuries on John's body were not consistent with a car strike. There weren't any fractures, breaks. I've been corrected, so I should just say broken bones in his hands, his forearm, his upper arm. There were no dislocations of elbow, wrist, shoulder. There was nothing showing any sort of body contact, which is what would have been required in order to toss him the way it did, because he has not a single bruise on his torso, nothing from the neck down. He has no harm to his knees, his ribs, his hips, his thighs, nothing. They even dissected his legs. Like, they even kind of cut him open to look inside to see if there was any like tissue damage or bone damage or anything. No, this man was not hit by a car. We heard expert testimony tell us that the scratches on John's arm are not from a taillight. They are from an animal. And even though Bev wouldn't let us say dog during the trial, Alan Jackson will say it. He will remind the jury that they have a great big dog. That they had, past tense, a great big dog. He had a wound to the back of his head that was fatal. He had a crushed skull on back and side. There wasn't any way. His brain swelled so quickly that he couldn't have lived more than 15 minutes after he took the fall anyway. Their own neurosurgeon, Dr. Wolf, not Hot Dr. Wolf. You guys remember him, the guy that came in from Miami? He even testified. He did. He said the injury could easily come from someone falling down and hitting their head. And he even said in his testimony, we see this a lot of times with people who get drunk and fall down. It's a lot easier for you to be drunk and fall backwards when someone fucking sucker punches you in the face. Just saying. John was not hit by a car. Karen Read did not hit John. So Alan Jackson doesn't have to prove who did it. He doesn't have to prove anything else. All he has to do is convince the jury that there is reasonable doubt that Karen hit him with the car. And I think that has already been established, and let's hope the jury has picked up on that. Now, old Hanky, Hank Ham Sandwich Brennan has got a uphill battle. But here's what I'm going to say. The entire trial, he's been allowed to spew fucking garbage out of his mouth without being reined in by Bev. She's allowed him to say all kinds of things and put just all sorts of nonsense speculation into the record that a lot of other judges would never, ever have allowed. So Hank Brennan's probably going to be allowed. I mean, if he wanted to say that Karen killed Kennedy, he probably could get the fuck away with it because Bev has never reined him in. And so he'll say whatever the hell he wants to say when he's in front of that jury. And it's probably going to infuriate us because we know what we lies and trash and garbage. And that's all Hank Brennan has. After weeks and weeks of testimony, the prosecution is unable to say how John got hit by the vehicle, how fast the vehicle was going, where John was standing, how John ended up where he did, and how John could have possibly gotten injuries on some parts of his body without injuries on the parts of the body that you would need to have injuries on in order to be hit by a car. They failed at every turn. Hank Brennan took a pile of shit case that never should have made it to court. He spent weeks and weeks of everybody's time. He spent millions of dollars to, trying to get the jury to dislike her by showing all kinds of videos of stuff that he thought would make her seem unfavorable. Then he spent the rest of the time defending his own witnesses. Jen McCabe's not that bad. What makes you think that this person's bad? That person's a great person. They didn't say that. They didn't text that. They didn't make that phone call. Trying to defend his own witnesses instead of proving her guilt. The water was at Hank Brennan's nose the minute he jumped into the pool. He's a defense attorney, and he behaved like a defense attorney the entire time. He defended every single person that was involved in this, and he didn't prosecute the person he was supposed to prosecute. Closing arguments should be a doozy.